The NHL is horrified of this, and everyone is speaking out about it. As following what was a great season opener for the Leafs, there was one player in particular not only stood above the rest, but something that nobody saw coming. We're going to break down exactly what happened, but also break down some big updates ahead of Game 2 on Saturday. And you're going to want to stay tuned till the end of this video, as there are some details that not a lot of people are talking about surrounding Morgan Reilly. A ton to go over, but before we get into it all, if you're part of the 71% who aren't subscribed to the channel, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Your guys' support's been unbelievable, and we will be live following, of course, the game on Saturday against the Red Wings. Darius, I obviously missed yesterday's live stream. The Jays were doing their thing, and my voice is almost gone, so bear with that. But there was a player, I did watch the game afterwards, there was a player that stood above the rest in yesterday's game, and it was, of course, Morgan Reilly. We're going to be touching on some things today, but really touch on the bigger story of how this is going to change everything for this Leafs team if he is able to sustain this. Now, we know yesterday Morgan Reilly got the belt, which, of course, well-deserved, right? There was a lot of good players yesterday. You can obviously see there Jake McCabe. But you look at his stats here, 1 goal, 1 assist, 5 shots on goal with a hit and 2 blocks. And I was able to watch the game live. Obviously, I wasn't able to make the stream. Watched a bit of it after. He was an absolute difference maker. Morgan Reilly was. He was, from the get-go, he was one of the most dominant players on the ice. He could have easily had 2 or 3 goals, which is pretty funny. Some great saves on Montembeault. He put in a ton of work this summer. He did a lot of work behind the scenes that not a lot of people are talking about or were talking about leading up to the season, because all the conversation was about Easton Cowan, Dakota Joshua, Nicola Waugh. How will they do without Mitch Marner, with Michelli? Morgan Reilly had a closed door conversation with the front office, and he came out in game 1 and looked like a completely different player. And like the quote here says, he looks hungry and he still wants it. This could be a difference maker, and will be, if he can keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Last night, 1 goal, 1 assist. He was a +2. He had 5 shots on goal. He had 8 shot attempts on goal. He was absolutely firing it. And a lot of people, and listen, 2 blocks, right? Second star of the game, all of these things, great stuff, right? And his pairing with Carlo, you could argue that they didn't look good throughout the entire game, but they didn't look atrocious, right? They did not look asinine in the game, which is good because they kind of did in the preseason and parts of last year, especially defensively. And I didn't see that last night, which is good news. And a lot of people, I made a short on this earlier today, and I was out on TikTok talking about this a little bit. And people, the comments are already starting, and I see it out there on Twitter. It's just 1 game. Calm down. It's the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal's a pretty good team. They made the playoffs last year. And not only that, it's not just 1 game. Like you mentioned, this is deliberate. This is what Morgan Reilly came into the season wanting to accomplish. And got off on the right foot. And, we would have been talking about it if we were about 7 games in and he wasn't playing that well still. But that's not the case. He started off the season very strong. He looked good offensively, which is something that they need out of him specifically for that player. But not only that, he needs to be better defensively. And Craig Berube spoke out and he said that, when he came into the Leafs last year, he wanted to change the way they played to more control instead of just run and gun, right? And that kind of affected Morgan Reilly. And they had a conversation this summer, like you said, where they essentially told Morgan Reilly, we need you to play this way, this type of hockey, and you will find success in the system. Sorry for changing the entire system on you, but you have to change the way that you play. He took that to heart. He wants to be better. He wants to be better for this team, and he wants to win in Toronto. He also is in probably the best shape of his life at this point, by all accounts, or just in better shape, as we've heard. So he took it to heart. He was working very, very hard in the offseason throughout the entire summer to get to this point, to be better for this team. The power play didn't look that good last night. It is 1 game. I'll chalk it up to that at this point. They have to work on it, but really good sign so far from Morgan Reilly to come out of the gate punching and not punching up. He was punching down on players, which is nice. So, getting that stat line as well helps, and he gets the belt recognized by the team. So it is in theory 1 game, but this is what we're looking for from Morgan Reilly, and he got off on the right foot.
Yeah, and there was off seasons of trade rumors. This past year, we obviously had the bad Morgan Reilly experience both in the playoffs last season and the regular season, and it all culminated in him again having a meeting with Craig Berube, Brad Treliving, figuring it out, working hard all summer, and really coming out and display. You could argue this was his best game. This is better than any game he had, or pretty close. Like a top 5 game in any game he had last year, as it pertains to just overall impact. Now, he had a couple good games last year. He had a bit of a stretch there, but he played that good in yesterday's game. You could see here he had a goal, 2 points, and 5 shots on goal, and that's a big tell when Morgan Reilly's comfortable, he'll get a lot of shots on goal. We saw it a few years ago before, or I guess the year before he got his contract extension, when he put up that huge point total. He looked like a different player, and he looked similar to that yesterday. And I'm not saying he's going to get back to that. Again, it is just one game, but you mentioned it. It's more of a culmination of everything that we've been seeing and hearing about him in the offseason that just kind of got overshadowed by a bunch of other things. And literally everyone is speaking out about it. Austin Matthews, Craig Berube, everyone realizes how important he is to the team, and he's the reason they won yesterday. Now, of course, Matthew Nyes got the breakaway, missed, and then, of course, great pass to Morgan Reilly. But Morgan Reilly being in that spot, he was all over the net the entire game, whether it was on what ended up being the game, I guess the game-winning goal, putting him up 3-2. We got a couple empty netters after. Whether it be in the first period, he was everywhere. He got an assist as well, a pretty crucial one to Calle Jarnkrok, who also looked pretty good. And maybe when he's healthy, he's actually a decent fourth-line winger. Maybe that's probably a development we're going to notice. And it was just everything you could have asked for and more from Morgan Reilly in specific. The power play looked terrible. The penalty kill looked pretty good. There is some, it wasn't a great game, to be completely honest. Like, they played a good game overall. There's a lot of people, Habs fans out there, saying that the Habs outplayed the Leafs. It is what it is. The Leafs won the game. That means that they outplayed them. But at the end of the day, you could see here, sat down with Morgan Reilly. This was almost a month ago, and asked about the pressure. And he said, it's basically, it's an interesting narrative. And he basically said, he put it all to bed, that it's all BS, right? So it is going to be interesting. And this is a guy who's embraced Toronto. Fans, at some point, embraced him, sometimes didn't, rightfully so. He's had some really bad years. Him stepping up is the biggest. Feel free to read the full quote here, but him stepping up is going to be the biggest development here outside of maybe guys like Michelli. But I mean, if Morgan Reilly turns back the clock, that defensive corp, which has a pretty high floor, but also not the highest ceiling in the world, could have a huge ceiling now, and they have one more offensive weapon.
Yeah, and the narrative is BS. I mean, look what's happening with the Toronto Blue Jays right now. The city is completely falling in love with players who rise to the occasion, like Vladdy, right? Like, the entire city's falling in love with these players. And talking about rising to the occasion, I know it's game one of the regular season, but one thing I've noticed since Craig Berube came in is the Leafs sometimes will get outshot. I feel like they always outshot other teams before with Sheldon Keefe, and maybe, we're running around and they would score a lot of goals and sometimes give up leads and all that stuff. But Craig Berube's style, hang around in games. Even if you're getting outshot and outplayed a little bit, which the Canadians were to a degree, outplaying the Leafs at times in last night's game. But the Leafs hang around. But then you rise to the occasion. You have the skill that can rise to the occasion. But the Leafs' problem mentally is that they could never do that. And I know, again, it's game one of the regular season, but Morgan Reilly was able to do that last night. And then you come out with a win, you get 2 empty netters, and it's 5-2, and that's it. And you go home happy. So that type of stuff, if you can continue to do that through the regular season this year, they will find success. They'll be a great team still. They'll be one of the best teams in the Atlantic Division, if not the league. And then when you go to the playoffs, I think they're a deeper team. And if you can continue to do stuff like that, hang around in games and rise to the occasion when you need a big moment like that, they'll be fine. And that's how you have to do it with an older team. It's hard to win in this league with a younger team. And I feel like some of these guys are starting to understand that, much like Alex Ovechkin did years ago. So it's going to be very interesting. And again, that whole narrative, Morgan Reilly wants to be here. He wants to win. He took that conversation to heart. He wants to be the best defenseman that he possibly can for this team. And I think he took a step in the right direction yesterday. And I said it during the summer. Look at trading him, right? We were talking about it in the summer, but I said ultimately what's going to happen is you're not going to trade him. He has a no movement clause. He's going to stay and look for him to have a better season because he wants to put it on the line for this team and he wants to win here.
Hopefully you can keep it up. The Leafs do have a soft schedule to begin the year, so you got to take advantage of that. They play Detroit on Saturday, and the vibes are good. And Mitch Marner down there, I know a lot of people are talking about his shootout performance. It is what it is. The Leafs win. They take care of business. Whether they outplayed the Habs or not, it doesn't matter. They have 2 points on the scoreboard, and that'll wrap it up. See you guys later.